Hello, welcome to another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Jeff, how are you this morning?
I'm wonderful, Sal. Yourself?
Outstanding.
Who you got for us today?
Well, today's a big day. We better not screw this one up. No pressure.
Our career depends on it, right?
Yes, we have our retiring CEO, Mr. Harold Cooper.
Yes.
And our incoming CEO, Mr. Ben Hoene.
Is he a new guy?
No, he's been with us for a while.
Okay.
But before we get started, we're going to start off with the question of the day. And that is, tell us about a job you had as a kid, either on or off the farm, that was one of your favorite jobs.
Oh, wow. That's good. That's a tough one. I would say I always liked feeding bottle calves. So on the farm, I think that's why I always get up early still, as we were used to feeding them early and turn around and doing it again of an evening. So
we'll come back.
It was always the fun one.
That's a good one.
I'm going to get a bull crap cough when I say this, but this was the first thing that came to mind when I saw the question. You did preempt me. It was baling hay.
Baling hay.
And I would hate to do that today, but it was so hard, and everybody worked so hard together. At the end of the day, it's just one of those kind of days that was a good tired. So baling hay was what came to mind.
Wow.
I would agree with that. You know, the smell and the satisfaction after the job's done, it's just that in-between part that sometimes wasn't great. But
I thought it was going to be cleaning the feed mill out when you were an intern.
Yes.
Cleaning the coffee pot out.
That was the worst story ever.
Well, basement of a feed mill is worse.
That coffee pot
Ben's on the right track there.
I've never drinking coffee at a feed mill after that story.
Yeah, longtime listeners might remember that.
Yeah.
So,
well, mine was
episode 34.
Episode 34. That's where it is. Well, I'm supposed to see a spike in listening on that one episode.
I'm really not sure if that's right.
Well, mine was in the hayfield also. I remember the first year I got to drive the tractor, and I wasn't really heavy enough to push the clutch down. You had to do the
slide off the seat, and pull the steering wheel.
Yep, exactly. Massey Ferguson's with, and all I heard was, "Don't pop the clutch." As my cousins and uncles would.
As you're ruining the stack.
Yeah.
So, I think mine would be, it was probably farrowing pigs, or having baby. Any of that stuff to do with the birth, either lambs or pigs or stuff. So that was always my favorite time.
Yep. Good times. Good times.
You were allowed to drive the tractor though as a kid?
Hey, they put it in gear and leave me for a while.
They still don't let me.
And now he's at the helm of Premier, and he couldn't drive the tractor.
Drive the tractor.
We just got to take the tractor keys away from him. Well, let's talk a little about the past, a lot about the future. Today's episode is about just leadership transition and just the continuity of Premier Ag. But we thought we'd start off and just reflect a little bit, Harold, about you spent decades at the helm of Premier Ag, and tell us just a little bit about, I guess, some of the changes and some of the looking back, kind of the memories of the things, of the big events that we went through.
Well, a lot of it ends up being consolidation, and just the consolidation at farm, which drove consolidation of co-ops. And so you see a much different complexion of what agriculture looks like today. I think the population of agriculture when I started was probably 6% of the U.S. population. It's less than 2% today. That's a trend that continues, but that has certainly changed what our farmers look like. And it's more of a business today, where it was just more of, just a family and that kind of thing. And a lot of those values remain, but the way you engage the farm community today is much different than when I started. And that's certainly a part of it. The other thing, just real quick, reflecting on, is I've liked over the decades that I think Premier and the cooperative system has always looked to be innovative, to look to advance the interest of the farmer, to protect the interest of the farmer, both in sometimes in supply and pricing, but also in what we try to offer to them. So I like the idea that we've always been very proactive in looking for ways to improve farm interest and hopefully benefit us as a cooperative at the same time. The last one I'll say real quickly on that is, I've just always appreciated this employee group that I felt like I've been able to work alongside. That's an important word. Work alongside a group that genuinely cares about the job they do and genuinely cares about each other. You think about the flood that we had in 2008 up in Columbus, or that large fertilizer spill we had. But you've always seen an employee group, regardless of position or what their own time schedules had or demanded, run to help. And that's always been a nice environment to be a part of.
Yeah. Ben, you've
I really thought it was going to be when he hired me.
you never got there.
I don't take credit for that, nor will I take blame.
well, Ben, this is a time of rapid change for Premier Ag, and you've led the energy division through a lot of this, all of it actually. The past few years, and why is this a good time for change? But why is this a good time for change?
I mean, as you look at it right now, as a whole, a lot of things are changing. I mean, whether it's the landscape of agriculture, whether it's energy, everything's kind of moving along and going, and here we go. So, when is a good time for anything? Again, Harold, he's got his time and he's ready to move on, and I'm assuming he's going to end up at a state park or a federal park, being a tour guide with a big hat like Smokey Bear. But that'll be his passion. But when is a good time for anything? You've just got to pick it and go. And times are changing, and we'll just see what happens.
I can see myself at Bass Pro everybody wants to go to Bass Pro or Cabela's, being the guy, the greeter at the door. They always want to go there.
You'll be at an equipment dealership selling excavators.
Don't tempt me.
Okay.
That's well, one thing Jeff and I was talking a little bit about is anytime change comes and there's leadership change and we go into some things still kind of remain the same. Ben, what do you think? A lot of the things that would kind of be the same going forward.
I don't see a lot changing. I mean, Harold, we've been together for 20 years. He's been blessed for 20 years to have me around.
You guys are on your best behavior right now.
But we are, the mission, the values, the cooperative ownership. Harold's led all that, and I don't see any of that changing. And, members will remain the main focus for us and continue to grow and use what Harold's laid out here. He's laid out great framework for us with facilities and everything else. We'll just start building off of it. So,
for the employees that are listening, when you working with Harold over the years and stuff, what's your leadership style, or what are some of the differences that you could point out between you and Harold?
Well, that's interesting. We argue about this one quite a bit sometimes. And
I'm trying to protect you.
And he says he's trying to protect
from yourself.
As it goes through, I mean, you've never heard Harold use a title and do things like that. I'm not a big title guy either. We've never done any of that. I'm the guy that sees somebody step over a piece of paper and I freak out because you should have picked it up. And Harold will be like, "Don't worry about the paper sometimes. Quit sweating the small stuff." So our style is going to be a little bit different. I don't worry about it as much anymore. I know Sal was upset this morning. He's still trying to figure out who's going to make the coffee of a morning.
I know, that's got me stressed.
And Eric and those guys, I come in early of a morning and that's just what I do. And I have for 15, 20 years, and make the coffee, take out the trash. And so our styles are a little bit different. Harold would make the coffee and take out the trash all day long, but he's like, it's not always your job. So employees shouldn't see much change. I really don't think so. We both care for them and understand it. So,
that was actually I was going to bring that up, and it's funny that happened this morning. That I think that Ben, I think that's part of. I think this is a good time to kind of tell folks your story, because I don't know what time you get here in the morning. I've gotten here pretty early, and there's always 2 pots of coffee made, and so I think that kind of fits into your work ethic, certainly. But what's been your career path at Premier Ag? I mean, and on the farm. I mean, you've obviously bottle calves, one of your favorite memories, but you've done a lot of jobs at Premier companies.
Yeah, I have. We started with Jackson Jennings way back in the day, so 30 years ago almost, and that was just an accident that I was even here helping. I got sent over to help load fertilizer for Scott Sharp. And Tom Snyder, who was a director for Jackson Jennings at the time, sent me over. He was upset that Scott wasn't getting buggies loaded fast enough. So he sent me over and said, "Go load fertilizer."
How old were you then?
18.
18.
So 17 or 18, somewhere in there.
And this was down
this was down here on the lots here in Seymour. I showed up and Scott's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm supposed to load fertilizer. I couldn't even figure out how to start the skid loader. So I had to go back in and ask him. So finished up that day and he says, are you coming back? So I came back and always had to go back and feed the pigs for Tom. And after about 2 weeks, Tom's like, are you going to work for me or are you working for them? And I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. And ended up working for Jackson Jennings for quite some time. And, from there, drove a tender truck, which would have ranked second for my favorite job. That was a pretty good gig. And
those are good days.
Those were good days. You just kind of hung out and done your thing at that point in time.
So you was working for the farmer, Tom, and he wasn't getting his fertilizer quick enough or something.
Right.
And go up there and
help. And that's how it started. So,
farmers listening to this are going to be going, hey, we're not getting stuff fast. They'll be sending their employees off on branches.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I don't know if anything got sped up. I think I may have been more of a hindrance that first day or second day. But so then from there, I drove a tender truck, applicator, managed the C-store, sales, so on and so forth. So yeah, I've done everything from driving the skid loader and up to sales to whatever. Yep.
That's neat that we could have a transition internally with an internal candidate that's been ready and done all these jobs.
Well, and the other thing is as you look forward to coming into the CEO role and you get those stressful days. I mean, now you can just say, heck with it. I'm going out. I'm going to find a tender truck and I'm going to drive it. So
yeah, exactly. If they'll let me.
Yeah.
That's the thing sometimes.
I thought I was a great applicator, but they finally took the keys away from me when I tore the booms off in the parking lot down there at the Salem plant.
Nice. That should be a podcast in itself.
That'd be a
Stuff
story.
that Sal has tore up over the years.
I think we could all do that one.
Yeah.
I know Harold could.
Absolutely true.
Well, as you're looking at this time of transition and stuff, Harold, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to Ben that you've learned in leading this organization, and that if you could just pass on one piece of advice, and you guys have probably had these conversations, but
Well, he was kind of hinting at it a little bit ago, and I'm glad to hear Ben say that in a public forum. I think I know how Ben thinks, and in fact, I hope I get a chance to comment on that a little bit. But I do believe it's important, this company, and as anyone that's ever heard me on this has heard, I strongly am guided by history. I'm guided by the Bible and by history, and events change, but people's personalities and the way they approach decision making doesn't have to. And I hope this company always keeps in its DNA our beginnings. And that group in 1927, how they were formed, their can-do attitude, their unwillingness to accept that defeat, that we have to accept the current terms and conditions. Let's just do it ourselves. I hope those values of our founders are always present here. The other thing I've heard him allude to a little bit this morning is, but when you think about Premier sitting here saying, we want to make sure there's a farmer choice, every market, every geography. We want to make sure farmers get a chance in some fashion to participate in the value chain, that they don't have to just get frustrated that they seem to take all the risk and do all the work at their farm. And it seems like somebody else benefits from that. Well, through Premier, they own a refinery. They own a butter company, Land O'Lakes. They own so many external investments that come back in part to Premier that in turn help us reinvest in facility or return directly to them. So hope we keep that. And I hope we always keep this notion of constantly looking for ways to collaborate, to come together, to be better. That certainly was our founding, that those farmers said, this is bigger than just my own farm. I think the co-op by very nature. And Ben reflects all those things. I'm so excited that the board has selected what I think is a great leader future in this company. The last one I'd add is, and I think he's going to be much better at this than I was, is make sure an employee is positioned as strongly as we talk about who we are and how the appreciation to the employee group as we do the farmer. And again, I think he's going to extend those things and do better with those. If I could, just real quickly, Ben, I want to say this. I've worked with Ben a long time. He is the most observant person I've ever seen in my lifetime. If you'd ever walk through an airport with Ben, for example, you get to the gate and say, man, that's kind of a long walk. He'd be starting to tell you everything he saw in every way he could have helped or done something different and move it. But Ben is by far the most observant person I've ever been around. The other thing he's got a unique gift and trait for is he can convert that to possibilities and say, you know, what's going on in the Middle East right now. I mean, Ben, I can guarantee you Ben's already looked at that from a supply standpoint, a propane standpoint, liquid fuel standpoint, probably Premier standpoint, and said, what might be the implication to Premier as what's going on? And he will move and act quicker than a marketplace with his own insight. The best, the absolute best I've ever seen with that. And I think he's going to serve Premier well. The other thing he's going to do better than me, and we've talked about this, I like to think I'm good at strategy. I like to think I'm good at external relationships and somewhat extending the beach of Premier. Ben's going to make us much better, make Premier much better in operations. He does focus on details. It does matter to him. And I think the employer group is going to appreciate a more stable understanding of what's expected of me and how do I deliver on that? And do I get rewarded when I do? Ben's going to be so much better in that regard than me. And that's a good wholesale change for Premier. Sal, you know, in sales, sometimes a sales structure wears itself out. It certainly works for a time, but you exploit all the advantages of that new structure, and then the vulnerabilities get identified. And occasionally you just got to switch it.
Yep.
It's the same with companies. And that's what Premier's about to go through, and it's an exciting day.
Yeah.
Yeah, details. Don't walk behind him at the airport because he's going to walk really slow. But if you're catching a flight, he will leave you. I can tell you that. I have had the door shut on me before, and he's sitting on the plane. So. And he was happy. Didn't even know we were gone.
Well, Ben, as you hear that from Harold and stuff, what comes to your mind, and as you get ready to take off on this new role?
Yeah, no, Harold's right. I mean, everything he said, I agree. I am detail oriented on some things. Not as much as he says. Sometimes he says I'm Chicken Little and the sky's falling, and it's not always falling, but sometimes it is. Being prepared for things, just like the propane situation we came through. I mean, we looking ahead and making sure everybody's prepared. You have a game plan and things are going, and you know, let's not make it an emergency if we can prevent it before it happens. So
yeah, we're getting ready to do another episode with Julie and Bailey and have them back on post Ben, so post the event, the winter of 2026, and just talk about some of the successes. And I know it was hard work internally, but externally, as an employee or a customer, you just didn't see it. It was amazing what
they did do a good job. They did a great job. Every one of them did. Yep. The whole team.
Well, I think, is there any final messages you'd like to leave Premier companies and their customers and listeners with?
No, I wish Harold the best in his retirement and his, I'm assuming, some Civil War thing here. So, nope, wish him the best and appreciate it.
He would be good at that, Harold.
There's no chance it's exactly what he's going to do.
I wish I could. If Karen go with me, I would have the Smokey the Bear hat and suspenders, and I'd be at Gettysburg.
we would have a blast going and messing with him.
People pay to hear me talk about it. That'd be great. But the only thing I'd add to this, and again, I couldn't be more pleased at the board selection and for the future Premier. I think the challenges going forward are going to be as great as in 1927 as we learn about data farming and robotics and AI and all those things. All the things are going to impact and change and influence our farmers, which in turn influence us. But the opportunity is still there. And I just am so excited for Ben and for his group. And I think Premier's ready for that. I really, truly do. And the neat part about this company is every month we're reminded we report to the farmer. And it will always be a farmer-owned company and farmer-directed. And I just think you are so poised, especially with leadership at this point. And I wish you all the best.
Harold, one last thing. As we go through this transition, you know, we talked about what advice you would give to Ben. What advice would you give to our member owners and our employees as there's a leadership change? I mean, what would you tell them, in terms of their expectations and how they interact with new leadership?
Well, the thing of it is, and I hope you've seen in this podcast a little bit, but Ben is extremely approachable. I think sometimes companies get caught up, or employees get caught up in titles or positions and things like that. But I think Ben's going to want to very much be a member of the employee group. And I don't think he wants to be aloof and distant and things like that. So I hope there remains just an open willingness to challenge one another, to push one another, and it'd be more of a peer relationship. Certainly titles and positions come into it occasionally, but for the most part, you just hope everybody gets up today and says, what can we get done today? And what can we do together to make it better? I think Ben will lead that way.
And I guess if the employees want to come in and have a cup of coffee at the bin, just come early. Is that what we're hearing?
Prefer early, but don't mess with me too much. That's my time of the morning.
Yeah.
So that 5:30 to 6 is my time.
So after 6, let him get a couple cups of coffee.
Yeah. You can come before 5, but yeah.
And he decreases the amount of the caffeine goes down per pot.
It does.
Yep.
It does.
So the first pot's always the best because it's the strongest. And then as everybody, some of the older people come in later or something, it gets a little bit less loaded.
You don't want them bouncing off the walls by the end of the day.
You got to calm it down a little.
All right. Well, this has been a good episode and a good time for both the employees and listeners to hear the transition and the bright future forward. So thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Well, that's another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Thank you all very much.